Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my colleagues, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I think let me start with the question on the CCT, the conditional cash transfer. That how are we doing the expansion of the registration? Well, we are using other models because, as I mentioned on this platform, we want to really focus on digitalizing this process. So we're using the BVN through the bank accounts, as well as mobile phone networks to identify these poor and vulnerable people in the society. That's going to be faster, and there's going to be transparency and accountability. On the issue of a lady showing that two members of a household being given the cash intervention, I think this is near impossible, because the process involved is a very, very tedious process where all critical stakeholders in the community are involved, the community leaders, and the faith-based organizations, the leaders, the youth, the women leaders in that particular community. They are the ones that come up with a list of poor and vulnerable households in that community. And if we go through the list, individually they submit this list. And if we go through the list, a particular household belongs to the three of the list submitted. I mean, they fall within these three, but maybe say the youth organization, they don't have that household in their list. You are not qualified to be in the register. So it is almost impossible for the same members of household to get this intervention. But we'll go back and investigate very well on this, but it's almost impossible. On the issue of the how are we giving the palliatives, I mean, the duration it covers. For the federal government, palliatives is for a minimum of 2 months. That's the package we have for the food relief. And even for the cash transfer, you may recall Mr. President directed that we give 2 months advance payment to these households. So I think we'll be able to adequately cater for these vulnerable groups, given the 2 months package that we're giving them. There's another issue on the grains. Yes, 70,000 grains were approved by Mr. President that should be given to the ministry, to the PTF through the ministry, to distribute to the 3 affected lockdown states by the federal government, and then to the other frontline states. So far, we have deployed 279 trucks of these grains to these 3 affected states or locations locked down by the federal government: Lagos, Ogun, and the FCT. And we're making plans for the next deployment to the other frontline states. We have not taken all the 70,000, so we still have some grains in the silos. Metric tons is quite a huge number. 10,000 or 2,000 metric tons will require nothing less than 30 trucks to deploy. So it's quite a huge number. And there's nowhere we can put these grains. We have to leave them in the silos and be deploying as the need arises. Thank you very much.